Hello there, and welcome to the Science for Sleep. Tonight, we'll wander into a hidden kingdom that exists all around us yet remains one of nature's most mysterious realms, the world of mushrooms. Mushrooms are neither plants nor animals but something wonderfully in between, belonging to their own kingdom known as fungi. They breathe like we do, silently growing in damp soil, decaying wood, and shaded forest floors, shaping life on Earth in ways that are older than even the first forests. Some mushrooms glow in the dark, scattering soft lanterns of green or blue light across the mossy ground, while others stretch unseen beneath our feet, weaving vast, interconnected webs that silently link trees and plants in ways science is only beginning to understand. Some are dazzlingly colorful, painted in hues that seem otherworldly, while others hide poisons potent enough to end a life with a single bite. And yet, these same organisms are also healers, builders, recyclers, and dreamers. They help bread rise, turn grapes into wine, and decompose the fallen remains of forests into fertile soil. They can even clean the world of oil and plastic and might one day help us understand how life could survive beyond Earth. Mushrooms are, in fact, more closely related to animals than plants, a surprising truth that reveals the hidden connections between all living things. Though they sprout from the soil and flourish alongside trees and grasses, fungi share a common ancestor with animals. At a genetic level, their cells breathe in oxygen and exhale carbon dioxide, just as we do. Their cell walls are built not from cellulose, like plants, but from chitin, the same material that forms the shells of insects and crabs. This strange kinship means that when you walk through a forest, surrounded by greenery, the mushrooms at your feet are closer relatives to you than to the trees that tower above. It's a humbling realization, one that changes the way we see the forest floor, as a place not of mere plants and roots, but of quiet, living kin that share more with us than we ever imagined. Among their many wonders is the ability of some mushrooms to glow with their own natural light, a phenomenon called bioluminescence. Imagine wandering through the woods on a dark night and noticing tiny green and blue sparks glowing softly in the moss. These living lights, known as foxfire, have enchanted humans for centuries. More than 70 species of bioluminescent fungi have been discovered, and scientists believe this glow may help attract insects that spread their spores or perhaps deter hungry animals from eating them. The glow itself comes from a chemical reaction involving an enzyme called luciferase, the same family of reactions that gives fireflies their magical light. To witness one of these glowing mushrooms in the wild is to glimpse an ancient magic, a beauty born from decay, and proof that even as wood rots, life finds a way to shine in the darkness. But what we see above ground, the familiar cap and stem of a mushroom, is only a small part of the whole organism. Beneath the surface lies a hidden network known as mycelium, a vast web of fine threads called hyphae that spread through the soil, wrapping around roots and stones. This underground network can stretch for miles, forming intricate patterns that recycle nutrients, carry water, and even help plants communicate. Through the mycelium, forests become living communities. Trees share sugars and minerals, warn each other of drought or pests, and even support weaker neighbors. The mycelium is like nature's internet, linking plants together in a network scientists call the Wood Wide Web. In some places, this web is unimaginably vast. In Oregon's Blue Mountains, one particular species, Armillaria ostoi, also known as the honey fungus, forms a single organism that spans nearly 4 square miles. This massive fungal being is thousands of years old and considered the largest living organism on Earth. To walk through that forest is to walk across a single ancient creature, a living memory of the planet's deep time, quietly thriving beneath our feet. Fungi also display a strange kind of communication. Though they have no brains or nerves, they send electrical signals through their mycelial threads, similar to the impulses in animal neurons. Scientists studying these signals have found patterns that resemble words, with changes in frequency and intensity possibly carrying meaning. Through these faint pulses, mushrooms may share information about resources, danger, or environmental changes with other parts of their network. Imagine a forest where trees, through the help of fungi, send nutrients to one another, a silent conversation beneath the ground. Though we cannot hear it, the earth hums with messages traveling through fungal highways, reminding us that intelligence and communication exist in many forms beyond our own. The resilience of fungi extends beyond imagination. When scientists tested what kinds of life could survive in space, they brought along fungal spores, and to their amazement, some survived. Exposed to the vacuum of space, radiation, and freezing temperatures, the spores endured, shielded only by their natural toughness. When brought back to Earth, many began to grow again. This remarkable survival suggests that life might travel between planets on dust or meteorites, a concept called panspermia. In this view, fungi become cosmic travelers, carrying the seeds of life across galaxies, waiting for the right world to bloom again. It's humbling to think that something as small and quiet as a mushroom could be part of such a vast, interplanetary story. Even here on Earth, mushrooms show their incredible adaptability. After the Chernobyl nuclear disaster, scientists discovered fungi growing inside the reactor ruins. These species not only survived intense radiation but appeared to thrive on it, growing toward radioactive sources rather than away. They contain melanin, the same pigment that darkens human skin, which may allow them to convert radiation into usable chemical energy, a kind of radiosynthesis. In other words, these mushrooms eat radiation. Such fungi could one day help clean up nuclear waste or even protect astronauts from radiation in deep space. Life, it seems, finds a way to endure even in the most hostile corners of the planet. Fungi are also powerful recyclers, capable of digesting materials that humans cannot. Some species can eat plastic, oil, and other pollutants that persist for centuries. In 2011, researchers found a fungus in the Amazon rainforest that could digest polyurethane, a plastic used in everything from shoes to insulation. Other fungi have been used to break down oil spills, turning toxic sludge into harmless compounds. Imagine a world where landfills are quietly reduced not by machines, but by colonies of mushrooms doing their ancient work of renewal. Mycologists, scientists who study fungi, are now exploring how mushrooms could help us clean polluted soil and waterways. One day, the humble mushroom might become one of humanity's greatest allies in healing the planet. Beyond their ecological roles, fungi have shaped human history in countless ways. Without them, there would be no bread, beer, wine, or cheese. Yeasts, a form of microscopic fungi, ferment sugars into alcohol and carbon dioxide, fueling both ancient celebrations and modern industries. Fungi have also given us powerful medicines. Penicillin, the world's first antibiotic, was discovered by accident when Alexander Fleming noticed mold-killing bacteria in a petri dish. That single discovery has saved millions of lives. Other fungi produce compounds that boost immunity, lower cholesterol, or act as natural pesticides. They are chemical factories hidden in plain sight. Yet, despite their benefits, mushrooms remind us to respect nature's balance. Among the world's most toxic substances are fungal poisons like amatoxins, found in the death cap mushroom. Just a few grams can destroy a human liver. These toxins evolved as defenses against animals and microbes, showing that in nature, beauty and danger often coexist. Still, even these deadly species teach scientists valuable lessons about biochemistry and medicine. Culturally, mushrooms have long fascinated humanity. Ancient cave paintings in Spain depict mushroom-like figures that may represent early spiritual visions. In Siberia, shamans used the fly agaric mushroom, the red and white toadstool of fairy tales, in rituals believed to connect them with the spirit world. In Japan, mushrooms symbolize longevity and rebirth, while in modern times, they've inspired everything from art and cuisine to futuristic building materials made from mycelium. Architects are experimenting with mycelium bricks, lightweight, biodegradable, and fire-resistant. Designers are creating mushroom leather to replace animal hides. Even fashion houses have begun exploring fungal fabrics as sustainable alternatives. It seems the age of fungi is returning, not as a curiosity, but as a cornerstone of the future. Fungi also play a key role in the carbon cycle. By decomposing dead plants and animals, they return vital nutrients to the soil, maintaining the balance of ecosystems. Without them, forests would drown in their own remains. Every fallen leaf, every piece of wood, and even the bodies of animals eventually pass through fungal hands, transformed into the building blocks of new life. In this way, fungi are the great recyclers of Earth, agents of decay that make rebirth possible. Perhaps the most poetic truth about mushrooms is that they thrive in darkness, feeding on what is dead and forgotten, yet creating new life from decay. In their quiet, patient way, they teach us something profound about resilience and transformation. Even in ruin, there is renewal. Even in the dark, there is light, sometimes literally glowing from the forest floor. As we continue to study them, mushrooms may reveal not only secrets of ecology and biology, but also lessons about interconnectedness, adaptation, and the deep wisdom of the natural world. So tonight, as you drift towards sleep, imagine the hidden web beneath the ground, vast, ancient, and alive, whispering through the soil. Imagine glowing mushrooms lighting the forest night, spores drifting on the breeze, and mycelium threads carrying silent messages between trees. Remember that these quiet beings, either plant nor animal, have been shaping our planet since before forests stood tall. They are storytellers of time, weaving connections between life and death, decay and rebirth. In every breath of forest air, in every loaf of bread, in every drop of wine, and in the soil beneath your feet, the kingdom of fungi continues its patient, eternal work, a reminder that even in silence, life speaks, and in stillness, the world is very much alive. In a world increasingly burdened by waste, pollution, and overconsumption, scientists have begun designing fungal biofactories that could devour plastic waste, harnessing the ancient power of mushrooms to heal the planet. Fungi, nature's master recyclers, remind us that the solutions to many modern crises may already exist within the quiet wisdom of the natural world. Beneath their humble appearances, they hold the keys to processes of decay and renewal that sustain ecosystems. When we look closer, we find that these silent organisms are not just recyclers but also storytellers of survival, adaptation, and transformation. Yet not all of their stories are peaceful ones. Among the many wonders of mushrooms lies a darker truth: some are deadly. Within the fungal kingdom exist species so toxic that even a single bite can be fatal. The infamous death-cap mushroom, Amanita phalloides, is one of the deadliest of all. Its toxins silently attack the liver and kidneys, and by the time symptoms appear, it is often too late for a cure. What makes it more chilling is its innocent appearance: a pale, greenish cap that could easily be mistaken for something edible. Throughout history, these deadly mushrooms have claimed the lives of kings, peasants, and explorers alike. The line between nourishment and poison in the world of fungi is razor thin, and its crossing is often invisible. Yet even in their danger, mushrooms command awe and respect, for they remind us that beauty and peril often coexist in nature's most elegant designs. But for every deadly variety, there are mushrooms that delight the senses with their rich flavors and remarkable textures. Some taste almost exactly like lobster or chicken, earning them affectionate names among foragers and chefs alike. The lobster mushroom, with its vivid orange-red hue, offers a flavor reminiscent of sweet shellfish, while chicken of the woods tears apart in tender, fibrous chunks that mimic cooked poultry both in texture and taste. Long before plant-based meats became fashionable, these fungi provided humans with natural, meat-like alternatives. Their versatility in flavor and form feels almost magical, as though mushrooms are culinary shapeshifters, able to imitate the animal kingdom while remaining firmly rooted in their own mysterious domain. The way something growing quietly from the bark of a tree can taste like a feast from the sea or the farm is a reminder of how endlessly inventive life can be. Ancient cultures recognized this otherworldly quality and revered mushrooms not only as food but as spiritual gateways. For thousands of years, mushrooms have held sacred roles in rituals, myths, and ceremonies across the globe. In Siberia, shamans used the red and white Amanita muscaria, the iconic mushroom of fairy tales, to enter trance states and communicate with the spirit world. In Mesoamerica, the Aztecs worshipped Tiananacatl, or the flesh of the gods, sacred mushrooms believed to open portals to divine realms. Cave paintings in Spain, dating back more than 6,000 years, show figures holding mushrooms in apparent reverence, suggesting humanity's fascination with these mysterious lifeforms stretches deep into prehistory. To ancient peoples, mushrooms were not mere plants but messages from another world, entities that appeared suddenly after rain, unconnected to seeds or roots, as though conjured from the earth itself. They symbolized transformation, rebirth, and the thin veil between the visible and the invisible worlds. Yet not all fungal miracles are benign or mystical. Some are chillingly parasitic. One of the most eerie and fascinating examples is found in the genus Cordyceps, fungi that take control of insects' minds. When a spore of Cordyceps lands on an ant, it invades its body and begins to grow within, consuming it from the inside while subtly altering its behavior. Eventually, the infected ant climbs a stem or branch, compelled by the fungus to reach an exact height that offers the perfect humidity and light for fungal reproduction. There, it locks its jaws in a death grip and dies as the fungus bursts through its body, growing a stalk that releases more spores to infect others below. This macabre life cycle, sometimes called the zombie fungus, turns living creatures into unwitting vehicles for the fungus's spread. Though horrifying, it demonstrates nature's intricate creativity, evolution crafting survival strategies that defy imagination. Beneath the forest floor, entire dramas unfold in silence. Battles, invasions, and metamorphoses we rarely notice but which shape entire ecosystems. Yet not all fungal miracles are benign or mystical. Some are chillingly parasitic. One of the most eerie and fascinating examples is found in the genus Cordyceps, fungi that take control of insects' minds. When a spore of Cordyceps lands on an ant, it invades its body and begins to grow within, consuming it from the inside while subtly altering its behavior. Eventually, the infected ant climbs a stem or branch, compelled by the fungus to reach an exact height that offers the perfect humidity and light for fungal reproduction. There, it locks its jaws in a death grip and dies as the fungus bursts through its body, growing a stalk that releases more spores to infect others below. This macabre life cycle, sometimes called the zombie fungus, turns living creatures into unwitting vehicles for the fungus's spread. Though horrifying, it demonstrates nature's intricate creativity, evolution crafting survival strategies that defy imagination. Beneath the forest floor, entire dramas unfold in silence. Battles, invasions, and metamorphoses we rarely notice but which shape entire ecosystems. The power of fungi to change the fate of species is not confined to insects. In recent decades, a fungus known as Batrachochytrium dendrobatidis, or BD, has been devastating amphibian populations across the world. This pathogenic fungus infects the skin of frogs, toads, and salamanders, the very surface through which they breathe and absorb water. As it spreads, it suffocates them, disrupting vital processes and leading to mass die-offs. Whole species have vanished from regions they once thrived in, and biologists call BD one of the most destructive pathogens in history. That such a microscopic organism could reshape entire ecosystems is a humbling testament to the power fungi wield, both as creators and destroyers. Around the globe, scientists and conservationists are racing to develop treatments and breeding programs to protect vulnerable amphibians from extinction. The story of BD stands as a reminder that the fungal kingdom, though often overlooked, holds immense influence over life's balance on Earth. Even when they are not visibly present, fungi surround us. The air we breathe is thick with their spores, the microscopic seeds of the fungal world. Every breath you take carries countless spores, invisible travelers drifting through the atmosphere. They swirl through cities, forests, and oceans, rising with the wind and falling with the rain. A single cubic meter of air may contain thousands of them, and yet we are scarcely aware of their presence. These spores connect us, invisibly, to forests, compost heaps, and soil ecosystems half a world away. They are so light and durable that they can ride air currents for weeks or even months, traversing entire continents. Some spores, lifted high by storms, reach the stratosphere, where they float amid dust and ice crystals. Their protective coatings allow them to endure ultraviolet radiation, desiccation, and even the chill of space. In this way, fungi use the atmosphere as a global transportation network, linking ecosystems across oceans and mountains. Every breath we take is, in a small way, an act of communion with the fungal kingdom, a reminder that life's threads are far more intertwined than we realize. Remarkably, spores have even survived the extreme conditions of outer space. In experiments conducted aboard spacecraft and satellites, scientists exposed fungal spores to the vacuum and radiation of space, expecting them to perish. Yet many endured for weeks, shielded only by their tough cell walls. This resilience has revived the ancient hypothesis of panspermia, the idea that life could travel between planets, hitching rides on asteroids, dust, or comets. If fungal spores can survive the void, it suggests that life itself may be far more mobile and resilient than we imagine. Somewhere, in the vastness of space, spores might drift silently between worlds, waiting for a planet with warmth, water, and nutrients, a new home where life can begin again. The next time you see a mushroom releasing a shimmering cloud of spores, remember, you may be witnessing a process that echoes across galaxies, a biological rhythm that connects Earth to the cosmos. Closer to home, fungi wield another quiet power, the ability to reshape landscapes. Though we think of stone as eternal, even mountains yield to the persistence of fungi. Lichens, which are partnerships between fungi and algae or cyanobacteria, can secrete mild acids that slowly dissolve rock, extracting minerals that sustain both partners. Over centuries, this delicate process turns stone into soil, creating the very ground on which forests and civilizations grow. The slow, silent work of fungi has literally built the foundation for life on land. From the breakdown of volcanic rock after eruptions to the slow weathering of cliffs and ruins, fungi act as the unseen sculptors of the Earth's surface. They also serve as healers and innovators in human life. Modern scientists are discovering ways to harness mycelium, the root-like network of fungi, to create sustainable materials for the future. Mycelium can be grown into bricks, packaging, textiles, and even leather alternatives. These materials are lightweight, strong, and biodegradable, offering a potential solution to the global plastic crisis. In the same way that fungi recycle fallen trees into fertile soil, mycelium-based innovations might help humanity recycle its own waste into something useful and regenerative. Fungi's unmatched ability to break down complex molecules makes them essential partners in the quest for a sustainable future. They can turn pollution into compost, waste into resource, and decay into rebirth. Fungi also continue to shape medicine and food. Penicillin, the world's first antibiotic, was born from a mold, Penicillium notatum, saving countless lives and revolutionizing healthcare. Other fungi produce compounds that lower cholesterol, boost immunity, and may even fight cancer. In cuisine, they remain indispensable, from the fermentation of bread, cheese, and wine to the umami-rich flavors of truffles and morels. The fungal kingdom nourishes, heals, and inspires in ways we are only beginning to understand. To study mushrooms is to peer into a mirror reflecting life's oldest wisdom, that everything is connected, that decay and growth are part of the same cycle, and that beauty often hides in the dark. They are the recyclers of worlds, the bridge between life and death, and the quiet architects of ecosystems. Some glow softly in the night, turning decay into light. Others lie hidden beneath our feet, weaving vast invisible webs that tie trees and plants together in networks of communication and support. Some thrive in nuclear ruins, some in frozen tundras, and some even in the vacuum of space. They feed on death but create the conditions for life. In their silent persistence, mushrooms teach us patience, humility, and wonder. They remind us that life endures not through dominance, but through cooperation, through unseen connections and the sharing of resources. To walk in a forest, to breathe its air, to see a mushroom emerge after rain, is to witness the planet's oldest act of renewal. These organisms, either plant nor animal, exist as living metaphors for transformation, capable of destruction, yet equally capable of healing. As we face our own environmental challenges, perhaps the fungi whisper an ancient truth to us, that the power to restore the earth lies not in force, but in balance, in listening, and in learning from nature's cue. Fungi are among nature's most extraordinary architects, silent, patient, and endlessly adaptable, shaping the world from beneath our feet. Without them, life as we know it would not exist. They turn stone to soil, decay to nourishment, and death to renewal. Over countless millennia, fungi have broken down boulders and mountains through the slow work of lichens, partnerships between fungi and algae that secrete acids capable of wearing away solid rock. This process, which takes centuries, transforms barren landscapes into fertile ground where forests and meadows can flourish. Tombstones, cliffs, and ruins quietly bear the mark of their touch, etched with faint patterns that tell the story of time itself. These humble organisms were among Earth's first gardeners, preparing the stage for plants long before humanity appeared. Some fungi even paint living geometry upon the land through what are known as fairy rings, perfect circles of mushrooms that emerge in meadows. These rings expand outward each year as the underground mycelium, the hidden body of the fungus, grows in all directions. What folklore once imagined as traces of fairies dancing in the moonlight is actually the result of a natural mathematical rhythm, a living circle drawn invisibly through the soil. To walk through a field after the rain and see such a perfect shape is to glimpse both science and magic intertwined, a reminder that beauty and logic often share the same root. Mushrooms themselves seem to appear as if by sorcery. One day the ground is empty, and the next morning it bursts with life. Their suddenness is not magic but precision, years of unseen preparation beneath the soil, storing energy in the mycelium until rainfall signals the time to rise. Within hours, delicate caps push through the earth, unfolding like tiny umbrellas of life. This astonishing speed and transformation gave mushrooms their ancient association with mystery and spirits. Even today, their appearances after storms feel miraculous, as though nature itself had conjured them overnight. Humans have found many uses for these strange organisms. Beyond food, fungi have served as natural artists, their pigments transforming fabrics into vibrant works of art long before synthetic dyes existed. Mushroom-based dyes can create shades of gold, green, blue, pink, and violet, each color a whisper from the forest. Artisans once boiled fungi like the dyer's polypore or delicate lichens to release hidden colors that bonded with wool and silk, producing garments that shimmered with organic tones, changing subtly in the light. Wearing such cloth was like carrying a fragment of the woods, its quiet hues woven into daily life. Some fungi, though, reveal a far more sinister side. Deep within the soil, certain species have evolved as hunters. These microscopic predators spin invisible snares and lasso-like traps to capture nematodes, tiny worms that live unseen in the earth. Once caught, the fungus pierces the prey and draws its nutrients, thriving on this microscopic feast. Such predatory fungi remind us that even in the stillest soil, there is endless struggle, a silent web of life and death beneath every step we take. Yet despite their predatory instincts, mushrooms also embody resilience and innovation that humans now seek to imitate. Scientists and designers have discovered that mycelium, the fibrous root network of fungi, can be stronger than steel by weight. Its interwoven threads form dense, flexible structures that are lightweight, fire-resistant, and biodegradable. Architects now experiment with mushroom-based bricks, insulation, and furniture, creating sustainable materials that can one day replace plastics and even concrete. What once seemed fragile now inspires the buildings of the future. This incredible strength, hidden within such delicate forms, shows that true power often grows in silence. Long before any tree reached for sunlight or flower opened its petals, fungi were already masters of the land. Fossils reveal that over 1 billion years ago, fungi ventured from the oceans to colonize barren rock, breaking it down into soil and preparing Earth for the green explosion of plant life that would follow. Some scientists believe that ancient Earth was once dotted with towering fungal columns known as prototaxites, massive organisms that stood over 20 feet tall. In that primitive world before leaves, grass, or animal life, these giant fungi were the planet's tallest living beings, absorbing nutrients from the ground and releasing them back into the environment. Without these quiet pioneers, the lush world we inhabit might never have taken root. Fungi are a kingdom of extremes, some so small they could rest on the tip of a needle, others vast enough to stretch across forests. The tiniest mushrooms, no larger than grains of sugar, bloom unseen on fallen leaves or rotting twigs, delicate as glass and fleeting as dew. They are reminders of how much of life happens beyond our sight, in miniature realms where beauty thrives invisibly. At the other end of the scale, giant puffballs swell to the size of beach balls, releasing clouds of trillions of spores into the air, while massive shelf fungi in tropical forests grow so large they could serve as natural steps or seats. Their immensity evokes both awe and humility, as though nature sculpted them to remind us of her boundless imagination. Truffles, by contrast, choose secrecy. They grow hidden beneath the soil, communicating with tree roots and animals through scent. Their aroma, rich and earthy, carries chemical signals similar to animal pheromones, driving pigs, dogs, and even humans wild with desire. For centuries, people have scoured forests in search of these underground treasures, guided by the noses of trained animals. To find one is to unearth gold made of scent, a fusion of mystery and indulgence that links fungi to both biology and art. Across all of these forms, from stonebreakers to spore floaters, fungi sustain life in countless unseen ways. Their spores, microscopic and weightless, fill the air around us. Every breath we take carries thousands of them, connecting our lungs to distant forests. These spores can travel across continents, riding wind currents, surviving harsh sunlight, and even drifting into the stratosphere. Some have endured the vacuum of space, leading scientists to wonder if life itself might spread between planets through spores, a process known as panspermia. If so, mushrooms may not only shape our Earth but also seed worlds beyond it. Imagine a puffball releasing a cloud of spores that someday lands on another world, a silent beginning to a new story of life. This resilience, this ability to endure and adapt, defines fungi more than anything else. They are healers and destroyers, creators and recyclers, quiet guardians of balance. They feed the soil, paint our fabrics, flavor our meals, and whisper lessons about patience and persistence. They teach us that even the smallest life can reshape the hardest stone, that hidden work can build entire ecosystems, and that beauty often grows where no one thinks to look. The world beneath our feet hums with their presence, an ancient, pulsing network that connects roots, trees, and perhaps even the stars. Fungi are the silent composers of life's grand symphony, turning decay into melody, death into harmony, and time into fertile song. For pigs especially, the scent of truffles has long been an irresistible temptation, a perfume so intoxicating that it drives them to dig deep into the soil where these underground treasures hide. Farmers once depended on pigs to sniff out truffles from beneath the earth, but since pigs often ate the truffles themselves, dogs eventually became the preferred hunters. Dogs, with their keen sense of smell and loyalty, could detect the scent without devouring the find. Yet even humans are not immune to the spell of truffles. Their musky, earthy aroma has enchanted chefs and food lovers for centuries. These subterranean fungi, valued among the most expensive foods in the world, emit a fragrance that weaves together mystery and indulgence. Their scent, rich with compounds similar to animal pheromones, travels through the soil and beckons animals to uncover them. When animals dig them up, they help spread the spores, ensuring the survival of the truffle species. It is a remarkable evolutionary strategy. Unable to release spores into the air, truffles instead rely on the seduction of scent, transforming perfume into survival. Beyond their hidden world, fungi play another astonishing role. They allow trees to communicate. Deep within forests, trees are not solitary beings. They whisper through the soil, exchanging nutrients, water, and even warnings, and fungi are the translators of this silent language. Through partnerships known as mycorrhizal networks, fungi extend the reach of tree roots, threading through soil in vast, interconnected webs. Through these fungal filaments, sugars and minerals move between trees. An older tree basking in sunlight may share excess sugars with a shaded sapling, while a young tree may return nutrients later in life. When danger threatens, such as a pest infestation or disease, trees send chemical signals through this network, alerting others to strengthen their defenses. Scientists call this hidden communication the Wood Wide Web, a vast biological internet that links entire forests into one living, cooperative system. The next time you wander through a forest, it is worth imagining that every root beneath your feet is part of a grand symphony of communication, where mushrooms serve as the instruments and interpreters of life itself. This fungal web extends far beyond any single tree. It binds entire ecosystems together. Some mycelial networks span hundreds of acres, connecting ancient trees to their descendants and turning the forest floor into a shared circulatory system. Old mother trees nourish their seedlings through this web, sending carbon and nutrients to give them a head start. Even dying trees contribute, passing their final resources into the network as a legacy for the next generation. In this way, a forest acts less like a collection of individuals and more like one vast organism, pulsing with shared vitality. Above ground, we see trunks, branches, and leaves, but below, an invisible architecture sustains it all, a lattice of fungal threads as intricate as the neural pathways of a brain, forming nature's own intelligence system. Among fungi's quiet but world-changing roles is their mastery of carbon. They are powerful carbon keepers, drawing carbon from the atmosphere through their partnerships with plants, and storing it deep underground in their sprawling mycelial networks. Some of this carbon remains trapped for centuries, safely locked away and prevented from fueling global warming. Fungi are, in essence, the planet's underground climate engineers, balancing the global carbon cycle with patience and precision. Even in death, as they decompose organic matter, fungi control how and when carbon returns to the air, ensuring that Earth's rhythms remain steady. In a world increasingly concerned with climate change, these hidden allies work tirelessly beneath our feet to protect the planet, unseen yet essential. Fungi's ability to thrive in the unlikeliest of places also tells a story of resilience. Some mushrooms grow only on animal dung, turning what we see as waste into renewal. The nutrient-rich remains of digestion offer fungi an ideal environment for growth. Species like Coprinopsis, known as inky caps, rise from manure to release spores that continue the cycle of life. They even propel their spores with tiny bursts of pressure, launching them far from the shadow of the dung heap to fresh grass where grazing animals will eat them, carrying the spores through their bodies to start the process anew. To fungi, there is no such thing as waste, only opportunity. Every remnant of life becomes the beginning of another. Some fungi, however, wait not for life but for fire. Known as pyrophilous fungi, or fire lovers, these species lie dormant underground until flames sweep through a forest. When the smoke clears and the earth is cloaked in ash, they awaken. Mushrooms like the beloved morel rise from the burned soil, their honeycombed caps a symbol of rebirth. Fire alters the chemistry of the earth, creating the precise conditions these fungi need. In the aftermath of destruction, they help recycle nutrients and prepare the ground for new growth. In this way, mushrooms become the forest's first responders, agents of renewal transforming loss into life. Where flames have consumed, fungi restore balance, proving that even devastation can nurture beauty. In yet another gift to the world, fungi are master chemists. Long before humans discovered medicine, fungi were producing antibiotics to defend themselves against bacteria. One of these fungal compounds, discovered accidentally in a petri dish, became penicillin, the first antibiotic to save millions of lives. But the story does not end there. Many mushrooms also produce antimicrobial substances that scientists continue to study today as potential cures for disease. Each mushroom, in its quiet way, is a living laboratory crafting survival compounds that may one day heal us. In forests, these chemicals protect fungi from competitors, but for humanity, they represent untapped potential, a reminder that the answers to many of our problems lie in the natural world, waiting to be found. Even the most ordinary parts of human life are touched by fungi. Bread, beer, and wine all depend on them. Yeast, a single-celled relative of mushrooms, works its magic by consuming sugars and releasing carbon dioxide and alcohol. This process, fermentation, gives bread its rise, beer its foam, and wine its spirit. Without fungi, our tables would lack many of the foods that bring comfort and celebration. Archaeological evidence shows that humans have harnessed yeast for thousands of years, using it to make leavened bread, fermented drinks, and other staples that became cornerstones of civilization. In a sense, fungi have shaped not only ecosystems but also human culture, influencing rituals, economies, and social bonds. Every loaf of bread baked, Every glass raised carries with it a whisper of fungal life, a quiet partnership stretching back to prehistory. Yeast, though microscopic, is one of humanity's oldest and most faithful companions. These tiny organisms drift through the air, landing on fruit and grain, transforming them through natural fermentation. Early humans likely discovered yeast by accident, perhaps from leaving crushed grapes or damp grain exposed to the air, where wild yeast took hold. Over generations, people learned to cultivate these invisible helpers, domesticating them into the strains we now use for baking and brewing. Though modern yeast is refined and controlled, it remains a living member of the fungal kingdom, kin to the mushrooms that rise from the forest floor. Each loaf of bread is a quiet miracle of biology and chemistry, a story of transformation that began in the soil. When we break bread or share a drink, we continue an ancient alliance with the fungi that feed us, heal us, and sustain our world. Beneath our feet, in the air we breathe, and even in the foods we love, fungi are everywhere, silent architects of balance, artists of decay and rebirth, and eternal teachers of cooperation, patience, and transformation. Billions of fungal cells work together in perfect harmony, unseen yet indispensable, transforming sweetness into sustenance, and reminding us how deeply connected all life is beneath the surface. Some mushrooms, like strange living art, can even appear to bleed red liquid when touched by light or rain. In shadowed forests, one might come across the bleeding tooth fungus, Hednellum pecii, whose pale surface beads with drops of vivid scarlet fluid that seem eerily like blood. This strange secretion, however, is not blood at all but a thick sap filled with pigments and antimicrobial compounds. Scientists believe it helps the fungus regulate moisture or defend against bacteria. To encounter such a mushroom is to step briefly into the uncanny, as though the forest itself were mimicking the familiar in haunting, beautiful ways. These fungi remind us that nature often holds secrets that were never meant for human eyes, and that what seems grotesque or mysterious usually serves a vital purpose. Yet, the bleeding mushroom is only one of many curiosities. Others take their survival to extremes by smelling of decay. Stinkhorns, for example, are notorious for producing a scent almost identical to rotting meat. This foul odor is not a flaw but a masterpiece of evolutionary strategy. It lures flies and beetles, tricking them into landing on the mushroom's sticky surface. As the insects move on, they carry the spores to new places, helping the fungus spread. What humans find revolting is, in the fungal world, a clever form of advertisement. To some cultures, stinkhorns were long considered bad omens or the work of spirits, their sudden appearance after rain lending them an air of the supernatural. But in truth, they are simply master manipulators of biology, using smell to enlist the help of insects in the endless cycle of life. Beneath the soil where these mushrooms rise, another world is constantly being built. Mycelium, the root-like network of fungi, forms sprawling, layered cities below our feet. These underground metropolises hum with activity, their filaments branching and reconnecting like highways, moving nutrients from one place to another. Some regions act as trade centers where fungi exchange sugars with tree roots. Others serve as reservoirs, storing water and carbon for future needs. When scientists peered into these hidden webs using advanced imaging, they discovered patterns astonishingly similar to human-engineered systems. Optimized networks that minimize energy waste and maximize efficiency. In a sense, fungi are nature's architects, constructing intricate infrastructures that rival our own. While cities of concrete and steel rise above the earth, beneath them lie older, more perfect cities of living threads, flexible, silent, and self-sustaining. The soil, often dismissed as inert, is in truth alive with the pulse of countless microscopic builders, weaving the foundation upon which all green life depends. Among the most fascinating displays of fungal chemistry are the mushrooms that change color when touched. One moment, they are dull brown or yellow. The next, a brilliant transformation unfolds as air meets their inner flesh. The blue-staining bolete is one of the most spectacular examples. When cut or bruised, its flesh oxidizes instantly, turning an intense cobalt blue. This reaction, caused by complex compounds meeting oxygen, seems like alchemy in miniature. For foragers, it can be a helpful clue, though not always a sign of edibility. In older times, mushrooms that shifted colors were thought to be enchanted or alive with hidden magic. Even now, to witness one change hues before your eyes is to glimpse a kind of forest sorcery, a chemistry trick that feels almost spiritual, as though the organism reveals its secret identity only when disturbed. But fungi have other surprises as well. Not all of them smell foul. Some are fragrant beyond belief. Deep in conifer forests, the candy-cap mushroom releases a scent nearly identical to maple syrup. When dried, its aroma intensifies, filling entire rooms with sweetness so rich it could be mistaken for breakfast. These mushrooms are beloved by chefs, who use them in cookies, cakes, and ice creams. The sweet scent comes from lactones, molecules that play with our sense of taste and memory. To stumble upon such a mushroom in the wild is to find a kitchen hidden beneath the trees, a place where the forest itself seems to dream of sugar and spice. Other species produce smells of almonds, coconuts, or marzipan, gentle fragrances drifting through the undergrowth. The almond-scented agaricus, for instance, carries a nutty perfume so strong that experienced foragers can identify it with their eyes closed. Coconut-scented rasulas, meanwhile, seem to whisper of faraway tropics, even though they grow in temperate woods. These delightful aromas, like all fungal chemistry, serve practical functions. They attract certain animals or deter others. Yet to human senses, they become enchanting coincidences, proof that the forest speaks a language we can sometimes almost understand. To lean close and smell almonds or maple syrup in the damp moss is to feel, if only for a moment, that the earth itself has a sense of humor. Beyond scent and beauty, mushrooms are quiet alchemists of health. Few foods naturally contain vitamin D, but mushrooms are a rare exception. Like humans, they can make their own when exposed to sunlight. Ultraviolet rays transform certain compounds within their tissues into vitamin D2, the same nutrient our skin produces. For humans, this vitamin supports strong bones, immunity, and mood. A handful of sun-dried mushrooms can contain as much vitamin D as a daily supplement. In some traditions, people intentionally place mushrooms in sunlight before cooking them to charge them with this natural power. It is a small miracle that something growing in the shade can absorb light and turn it into nourishment. In this way, mushrooms act as bridges between the energy of the sun and the fertility of the soil, embodying the deep connection between darkness and light. But not all fungi give life. Some protect themselves with deadly beauty. A few, in their defense, have evolved toxins that also make them glow. These bioluminescent mushrooms, ghostly green or bluish in the night, emit light through reactions involving luciferin and luciferase, the same chemicals that make fireflies glow. In ancient folklore, such lights in the forest were said to be the footsteps of spirits, or lost souls wandering through the night. Science reveals that the glow likely serves practical purposes, perhaps to deter predators, attract insects, or communicate within the fungal network. Still, the sight of glowing mushrooms scattered across a dark forest floor remains haunting. They turn decay into beauty, danger into radiance, and silence into a faint, ethereal illumination that seems both living and otherworldly. Among these luminous wonders hides one of Earth's deadliest creations, the death-cap mushroom, Amanita phalloides. Its pale green cap and elegant white stalk look harmless, even inviting. But inside it hides amatoxin, one of the most potent poisons known to science. Just half a cap can destroy a human liver, and no antidote exists. Symptoms take hours to appear, by which time the toxin has already begun its fatal work. Over centuries, countless lives have been lost to mistaken identity, as the death cap resembles many edible species. Its danger lies in deception, its quiet elegance conceals unimaginable power. Yet in this, too, lies a lesson. In nature, appearances are never the full story. The most delicate forms may hold immense force, and the smallest beings often wield the greatest influence. Even in their danger, fungi command all. They are chemists, builders, healers, and tricksters. Beneath the forest floor, they store carbon for centuries, helping stabilize the planet's climate. Within their tissues, they hide antibiotics that once gave rise to penicillin, saving millions of human lives. In bakeries and breweries, their single-celled cousins, yeasts, turned sugar into bread and celebration. In ancient times, these humble organisms shaped not only ecosystems but civilizations themselves, influencing rituals, trade, and the joy of shared meals. Some species spring from fire, rising from ashes after destruction, while others thrive in decay, growing from the dung of animals and returning waste to fertile soil. Every one of them plays a part in Earth's grand cycle of renewal. To walk through a forest and see a single mushroom is to witness the tip of an iceberg, a fleeting glimpse of an underground kingdom larger than any city, older than any civilization. Fungi weave invisible connections between trees, helping them share water, sugars, and messages. Through this vast wood-wide web, old trees feed the young, dying trees give back their nutrients, and entire forests act as one living organism. It is a quiet, enduring intelligence, life thinking through the soil. And through all these acts, fungi remind us of something profound, that everything, from the sweetness of maple-scented air to the deathly toxin of a pale green cap, is part of the same balance. Mushrooms bleed, glow, change color, and carry the scent of deserts or decay. They feed us, heal us, and sometimes kill us. They turn rock to soil and death to life. In their strange beauty and quiet wisdom, they reveal the unity of the living world, the truth that creation and destruction, sweetness and poison, light and shadow are all threads of the same mycelial web, pulsing beneath the earth, patiently holding the story of life together. The story of mushrooms is one of balance between wonder and warning, beauty and danger, healing and harm. In the forest, they stand as symbols of nature's indifference, creatures that can nurture or destroy with equal ease. Mushrooms that nourish life can also conceal chemistry capable of ending it, a duality that reminds us that nature's gifts are never without their shadows. Some of these hidden powers, however, have saved humanity itself. In the 19th century, when cholera ravaged cities across Europe and Asia, fear spread faster than the disease. Streets emptied, wells were sealed, and entire families vanished into sickness. Hope came not from physicians or kings but from a fungus, Penicillium glaucum, a relative of the species that would later give us penicillin. Scientists noticed that it halted the cholera bacterium's growth, though they could not yet understand why. It was an early hint of fungi's medicinal might, a whisper of the antibiotic revolution to come. From this quiet discovery would eventually arise treatments that transformed human history, proof that even the humblest mold could stand between humanity and extinction. Such is the paradox of fungi, simple yet sophisticated, deadly yet healing, ancient yet endlessly adaptive. Modern research continues to uncover their mysteries. Experiments have shown that fungal networks, vast webs of mycelium threading through soil and roots, can remember environmental changes. When researchers expose these networks to shifts in moisture, light, or temperature, the fungi adapted faster when those conditions returned, as if recalling what had come before. This memory is not thought in the human sense but a biological intelligence, a capacity to encode past experience into chemical and structural change. The soil itself seems to remember storms, droughts, and fires through these hidden filaments. Each forest, in this view, is not merely alive but aware, shaped by a living archive beneath our feet. The mycelium's silent recollection allows fungi to thrive in environments from tropical forests to frozen tundra, adapting to cycles of plenty and scarcity with unerring grace. Some mushrooms have even mastered the art of freezing and revival. In winter, when ice seals the earth and the air burns with cold, these hardy species do not die, they endure. They freeze solid, their cells protected by antifreeze-like compounds that prevent fatal crystal formation, waiting patiently until the thaw. Others defy the snow entirely, pushing through frost to reveal pale caps shining like moons against the white. To witness such a sight, a mushroom sprouting through frozen ground, is to see life's defiance made visible, a testament that even in the harshest silence, the pulse of existence continues. Human beings have long recognized mushrooms as healers. In ancient China, the reishi mushroom was called the mushroom of immortality, a sacred medicine believed to grant long life and serenity. In Japan, shiitake mushrooms were reserved for emperors and samurai, prized as nourishment for both body and spirit. Across Siberia, North America, and Africa, Indigenous peoples brewed teas, poultices, and tonics from wild fungi, learning through experience which species cured wounds or soothed fevers. Centuries before the microscope, they intuited what modern science now proves: that mushrooms contain powerful compounds capable of strengthening immunity, reducing inflammation, and even combating tumors. When you sip mushroom tea today or take an extract for health, you join a tradition stretching back thousands of years, a chain of curiosity, observation, and reverence linking healers of the past to researchers of the present. Among the most fascinating of all is the lion's mane mushroom, cascading in pale spines like a frozen waterfall. It is beautiful to look at, but its true magic lies within. Studies in animals have shown that compounds called hericinones and irinocines found in lion's mane stimulate the production of nerve growth factor, a molecule essential for maintaining and repairing neurons. This discovery has ignited hope that such fungi could one day aid in treating neurodegenerative diseases like Alzheimer's or Parkinson's. For centuries, traditional medicine praised lion's mane as a brain tonic that sharpened memory and focus. Now science reveals the molecular reason why. In this delicate organism, the forest holds a key to the renewal of the mind itself, a bridge between biology and consciousness. Each soft white cluster growing on an old tree is, in essence, a small laboratory of healing. Other mushrooms express their vitality through spectacle. The puffball, for instance, holds within its round body millions of spores, the seeds of future life. When ripe, a raindrop, the brush of a paw, or even a child's curious touch can trigger an eruption, a smoky burst of brownish gray dust. What looks like smoke is actually a shimmering storm of spores, each one capable of traveling miles on the wind. To watch this release is to witness life's persistence condensed into a single instant, a quiet explosion of renewal disguised as decay. The forest breathes through these spores, they drift, settle, and someday, in darkness and moisture, awaken again. This endless renewal depends on fungi's most fundamental talent, decomposition. In autumn, when trees shed their golden crowns, it is fungi that begin the slow feast beneath the fallen leaves. With powerful enzymes, they dismantle cellulose and lignin, the rigid scaffolding of wood, and return carbon, nitrogen, and minerals to the soil. Without this unseen labor, forests would suffocate beneath their own litter, and the earth would drown in unbroken layers of death. Every flower that blooms in spring, every blade of grass that rises from the thaw, owes its existence to these tireless decomposers. The forest is not a static place but a circulating economy, where fungi are both workers and accountants, ensuring that nothing is lost, only transformed. Each step you take in a forest is made possible by centuries of such recycling. The ground beneath you is not dirt but memory, molecules once belonging to trees, animals, and ancestors, reborn through fungal patience. Even in death, fungi offer light. Some species remain invisible by day but glow at night with an otherworldly radiance. Bioluminescent mushrooms emit hues of green and blue from fallen logs and forest floors, as though tiny lanterns were scattered among the leaves. The light is produced by luciferin, a compound that reacts with oxygen through an enzyme called luciferase, creating a gentle, continuous glow. Scientists believe this glow may attract insects that help spread spores, or perhaps it is a byproduct of the fungi's metabolism. Yet, for those who encounter it, the effect is pure enchantment. Imagine walking through a moonless forest and seeing faint emerald light outlining the shape of a mushroom, the earth itself, quietly alive with fire. Such sights blur the boundary between science and dream, reminding us that mystery still dwells in the natural world. Fungi's brilliance does not stop at the forest floor. They are architects of connection, forming vast underground webs that link trees into a living network. Through these threads, called mycorrhizae, trees share water, nutrients, and even warning signals. When one tree suffers drought or insect attack, others nearby receive chemical messages through fungal channels, adjusting their defenses. It is a kind of biological internet, older and wiser than anything humans have built. Fungi, in this sense, are not solitary but communal, mediating cooperation between species. The forest breathes and thinks through them, its intelligence diffused across root and thread. Their endurance has shaped the earth for over 1 billion years. Long before plants or animals, fungi colonized bare rock, breaking it down into soil. Ancient fossil evidence suggests that some species grew into colossal forms called prototaxites, towering 20 feet high, giant fungal pillars rising from primordial landscapes. These early organisms prepared the world for the greenery to come, setting the stage for forests, ecosystems, and eventually humankind. Even now, fungi continue to sustain planetary balance, decomposing waste, filtering pollutants, and partnering with algae to create lichens that paint our mountainsides. From ancient saviors to modern marvels, fungi reveal life's most profound truth: survival through transformation. They adapt, endure, and remember. They heal the sick, nourish the soil, and sometimes remind us, through poison or decay, that all power must be respected. When you walk in the woods and see a mushroom pushing through the moss, you are seeing the culmination of countless years of evolution, chemistry, and quiet intelligence. Beneath it, invisible threads weave through roots and stone, carrying memories of rain and fire, birth and death. The forest hums with their presence, an orchestra of unseen musicians turning the silence of decay into the music of renewal. Fungi teach us that nothing in nature is wasted, that endings are merely beginnings in disguise. They whisper of patience, the patience to decompose, to wait through winter, to bloom in darkness. They remind us that strength can be soft, that resilience can take the form of quiet persistence. From the mold that saved lives during a cholera outbreak to the glowing mushrooms lighting up forgotten paths, their kingdom holds lessons for science, medicine, and the soul. The next time you see one rising from a fallen log, pause. You are not just looking at a mushroom, you are witnessing a miracle of chemistry and time, a bridge between life and death, memory and matter, earth and light, a story written by the oldest storytellers the planet has ever known. In the hidden realm of the forest, there exists a quiet brilliance where mushrooms can light their own way, glowing like lanterns born from the earth itself. Their glow is not magic, but chemistry, a delicate dance of molecules known as bioluminescence, similar to the process that makes fireflies shine on summer nights. Within the cells of these fungi, a reaction between luciferin and oxygen produces light without heat, a phenomenon both beautiful and mysterious. Some of these luminous species save their energy for the darkness, glowing only at night as if performing for the stars. For centuries, their eerie radiance inspired myths and stories, tales of forest spirits guiding travelers or luring them astray under the silver light of the moon. Even today, these glowing fungi awaken wonder in those who wander through nighttime woods, reminding us that the forest has its own secret lanterns, switched on when the world grows quiet. Yet this bioluminescence is only one chapter in the vast saga of fungi, a kingdom of quiet engineers, healers, and recyclers that sustain life itself. Beyond their glow, fungi prove to be extraordinary architects of partnership. Lichens, for instance, those colorful patches clinging to bark, stone, and mountain cliffs, are not single organisms but an alliance between fungi and microscopic algae or cyanobacteria. The fungi provide shelter, moisture, and structure, while their algal partners contribute food through photosynthesis. Together, they form something entirely new, life born from cooperation. This partnership allows them to colonize some of the harshest environments on Earth: Arctic tundras, sun-baked deserts, and even bare rock faces where almost nothing else can grow. Lichens are among the oldest and toughest colonizers, paving the way for soil formation and painting the planet with splashes of green, yellow, and orange. In their quiet resilience, they reveal one of nature's oldest lessons: survival often depends not on competition, but on collaboration. Each lichen is a tiny universe of mutual benefit, a living story of coexistence that shows how different kingdoms of life can merge into harmony. Yet fungi are not only partners, they are also alchemists, transforming danger into nourishment. Many mushrooms cannot be eaten raw even though they are not poisonous, as their tissues contain mild toxins or compounds that the human body cannot easily digest. Cooking, the simplest of human arts, becomes the key that unlocks their gifts. Morels, adored by chefs, are dangerous raw but delicious when sautéed or roasted, their chemistry transformed by heat into nutty, earthy perfection. Shiitake mushrooms, too, release their richest aromas only when kissed by flame, as though fire completes their story. Across generations, foragers have learned through trial and error that some mushrooms must be respected and prepared properly to be enjoyed safely. This act of cooking is almost ritualistic, an ancient pact between human and fungus, one that turns potential harm into nourishment, and reminds us that wisdom in nature often comes from patience and reverence. Still, not every mushroom seeks to please the palate. Some defend themselves not through poison, but through taste, an unbearable bitterness so strong that even the hungriest creature recoils. The bitter bolete, nearly identical to edible cousins, delivers an acrid shock that ruins any dish unlucky enough to include it. These chemical defenses are nature's subtle strategy, a warning to predators that this meal is not worth the trouble. For humans, that bitterness triggers the same primal instinct that has protected us for millennia, our tongue's way of saying, "Stop." Even so, these inedible species still serve vital roles in the ecosystem, breaking down organic matter and nourishing the soil. Their bitterness is not cruelty but balance, part of the forest's grand conversation in which every flavor, every scent, every color serves a purpose in the web of survival. Among fungi's many faces are those that have profoundly shaped human culture and consciousness: the hallucinogenic mushrooms, carriers of the compound psilocybin. These remarkable organisms have long been bridges between the physical and the spiritual worlds. In ancient rituals across Central America, Siberia, and Africa, such mushrooms were believed to open doorways to divine realms, dissolving the boundaries between self and universe. Under their influence, perception warps, time stretches, and the mind glimpses something vast and wordless. For centuries, these experiences were wrapped in myth, regarded as sacred or forbidden. Now, science is circling back to rediscover what shamans always sensed: that psilocybin can heal. Modern researchers are studying these fungi for their potential to treat depression, anxiety, and addiction, finding that they may help reset neural pathways and bring lasting emotional relief. That a mushroom, small and fragile, can rewire the human mind speaks to fungi's deep power over biology and spirit alike. The bond between humanity and hallucinogenic fungi may stretch farther back than recorded history. In ancient caves of Spain and Algeria, prehistoric paintings depict human-like figures holding objects that resemble mushrooms, surrounded by swirling patterns and shapes evocative of altered states of mind. These images, tens of thousands of years old, suggest that early humans may have recognized mushrooms not just as food, but as portals to the unseen. The dances, colors, and rhythms painted on rock walls may reflect their earliest attempts to capture mystical visions, marking the birth of both art and imagination. To imagine those early artists huddled by flickering firelight, painting their encounters with the mysterious power of fungi, is to glimpse the ancient roots of our creative and spiritual drive, an inheritance that still lives in us today. In our modern age, fungi are once again emerging as our allies, not in spirit but in sustainability. Scientists have discovered that mycelium, the dense network of fungal threads beneath the soil, can be used to create biodegradable packaging that mimics the structure and strength of polystyrene foam. Fed with agricultural waste, the mycelium grows into any mold, forming lightweight, durable materials perfect for cushioning shipments or protecting fragile items. Once used, this packaging can be composted, breaking down naturally into the earth without a trace of pollution. Unlike plastic, which lingers for centuries, mycelium-based materials complete a perfect ecological circle, born from waste, serving their purpose, and then returning harmlessly to the soil. Already, companies are experimenting with mushroom packaging, envisioning a future where shipping boxes, electronics, and even furniture padding leave no environmental scars. In this way, fungi may help humanity undo one of its greatest mistakes: the era of plastic permanence. But fungi's promise doesn't end there. Some mycelium-based materials show remarkable resistance to fire. Researchers have found that certain fungal composites char instead of burn, producing little smoke and no toxic gases. This natural fire resistance stems from the chitin and polysaccharides in fungal cell walls, structures that resist ignition and insulate against heat. Imagine homes built with fungal panels that are not only strong and sustainable but capable of protecting lives from flames. Such innovations could revolutionize architecture, creating structures that breathe with the planet rather than poison it. The same network that decomposes leaves on the forest floor could one day form the walls of our houses, transforming ancient biology into modern technology. Fungi are also revolutionizing fashion and materials through mycelium leather, often called mycoleather, a sustainable alternative to traditional animal hide. By cultivating mycelium in controlled environments, it can be grown into soft, durable sheets that mimic leather's texture and flexibility. Once processed, it can become handbags, jackets, or shoes that look and feel luxurious but require no animal suffering or heavy chemical tanning. Unlike cowhide, which takes years to produce and consumes vast amounts of water, mycelium leather grows in just a few weeks and decomposes naturally at the end of its life. Its versatility is astounding. It can be tailored to be smooth and glossy like fine leather or velvety like suede. To hold such a material is to realize how seamlessly nature and innovation can intertwine, how the same humble fungus that feeds forests might one day redefine sustainability in art, design, and everyday life. Even in the frozen stillness of winter, fungi display astonishing adaptations. Some species produce antifreeze-like proteins and sugars that allow them to survive freezing temperatures. These compounds lower the freezing point of water within their cells, preventing ice crystals from forming and tearing them apart. Such biochemical miracles enable mushrooms to persist through snow and frost, ready to awaken with the first hint of warmth. This adaptation has captured the attention of scientists seeking new ways to preserve food, medicine, and even human organs for transplantation. The secrets of fungi's winter resilience may one day save lives far beyond the forest. Across all these wonders, bioluminescent lights, ancient partnerships, culinary transformations, consciousness-altering chemistry, and futuristic materials, one truth shines through: fungi are among the most ingenious life forms on Earth. They blur boundaries between plant and animal, living and decaying, art and science. They are teachers of transformation, showing that everything can be reborn if given time and care. They remind us that destruction and creation are two sides of the same process, that decay is not an ending but a beginning in disguise. Beneath every forest, beneath every fallen leaf, beneath the very ground we walk upon, their networks hum with quiet intelligence, stitching together the living and the dead in one vast system of renewal. To understand fungi is to glimpse the deep wisdom of the planet itself, a wisdom rooted in patience, cooperation, and resilience. They have lit the dark, healed the sick, guided our ancestors' visions, and now, perhaps, they may help us heal the earth. The same hidden kingdom that once nourished forests may yet show humanity the way forward, a path of harmony, balance, and respect for the cycles that sustain all life. When you see a mushroom glowing softly in the night, know that you are witnessing not just beauty, but the heartbeat of an ancient intelligence, one that has been shaping our world since long before we arrived and will continue long after we are gone. Fungi are among the most fascinating and resilient organisms on Earth, capable of thriving in places and conditions that would defeat most forms of life. Deep within frozen soil, even when winter locks the world in silence, some fungi continue their quiet work. They produce antifreeze-like compounds, proteins and sugars that keep their delicate cells safe when the air itself freezes. These extraordinary molecules lower the freezing point of water, preventing sharp ice crystals from forming inside them and tearing tissues apart. This allows them to keep breaking down leaves, wood, and organic matter when nearly all other organisms lie dormant. Even more astonishingly, some of these antifreeze molecules seep out into the surrounding environment, loosening frost around the mushrooms themselves. Researchers studying this phenomenon have begun exploring how these natural compounds could help protect crops from frost damage, or even de-ice roads without using harsh chemicals. It is humbling to imagine a tiny mushroom, no larger than your hand, quietly reshaping its frozen surroundings, showing that true resilience often hides in the smallest, softest corners of life. Though fungi have no tools or muscles, they are nature's patient miners. Certain species release organic acids that slowly dissolve rocks, unlocking nutrients like calcium, potassium, and magnesium. Over vast stretches of time, they transform lifeless stone into fertile soil, laying the foundation for forests and ecosystems to grow. This silent geological labor may have begun more than 1 billion years ago, when the earliest fungi crept across the barren landscape, preparing the way for the first plants to colonize land. Even today, lichens, those remarkable partnerships between fungi and algae, continue this ancient work. They cling to cliffs, tundras, and even gravestones, etching their way molecule by molecule through rock, leaving behind new soil in their wake. These tiny architects of the Earth's crust reshape entire mountainsides over centuries, turning what was once hard and lifeless into the soft, green carpet of future forests. Inspired by their methods, scientists now study biomining technologies that mimic fungal processes, extracting valuable elements from stone without the destructive footprint of human machines. To realize that a rocky cliff is being gently eaten away by invisible fungal threads is to witness patience itself turned into power. In places where human life has faltered, fungi often continue to thrive. After the Chernobyl nuclear disaster, scientists discovered mushrooms flourishing among the rubble, thriving in radiation-soaked soil. These fungi contain melanin, the same pigment that colors human skin, but here it plays a new role. Instead of merely shielding, it appears to transform radiation into usable energy in a process called radiosynthesis. It's as if the mushrooms perform their own form of photosynthesis, not with sunlight, but with deadly radiation. This discovery has sparked wonder and hope. Fungi that can survive and even feed on radiation might one day help clean contaminated environments or protect astronauts from cosmic rays in deep space. In the silent ruins of catastrophe, mushrooms transform what is poison to us into nourishment for themselves, reminding us that life's adaptability knows no boundaries. Fungi were also among the first allies of plants. When early green plants ventured from the sea onto barren rock, they faced a world with no soil and few nutrients. Fossil evidence shows that fungi were already waiting, ready to form partnerships. Through early symbiotic relationships, fungi helped plants absorb nutrients in exchange for sugars made through photosynthesis. Together, they transformed rock into soil and laid the groundwork for the lush forests and grasslands that followed. Every meadow, every tree, every blade of grass owes its existence to this ancient alliance. When we walk across a field today, we tread on ground first prepared by fungal life hundreds of millions of years ago, a debt written into the green fabric of the earth. Even beneath the sea, fungi extend their influence. Marine fungi, though far less studied, have been found living among coral reefs, weaving invisible threads through the vibrant underwater world. These hidden partners may regulate nutrients, protect corals from disease, and stabilize fragile ecosystems as oceans warm and acidify. While corals build the grand architecture of reefs, fungi may act as their caretakers, maintaining balance and resilience. To picture fungi drifting among coral polyps is to recognize that their kingdom knows no boundaries, stretching from mountain peaks to ocean floors, forever connecting life in ways unseen. Fungi are also masters of reproduction, adapting their strategies to any situation. They can reproduce asexually, releasing countless spores, tiny dust-like seeds that can travel vast distances by wind or water, creating identical copies with incredible efficiency. Yet, when the moment calls for variety, fungi can also reproduce sexually, exchanging genetic material to create diversity and resilience against changing environments. Some can even switch between these modes as needed, an elegant dance between stability and adaptability. The result is breathtaking flexibility. A single visible mushroom may represent a clone born from endless replication or a unique offspring born from genetic exchange. In the fungal kingdom, diversity reaches astonishing extremes. Some species possess tens of thousands of mating types, essentially biological genders. The splitgill mushroom, for instance, has more than 23,000 mating types written into its DNA. These are not genders as humans define them, but rather compatibility codes that ensure nearly any two individuals can reproduce, maximizing diversity and preventing inbreeding. It's a vision of nature's creativity beyond human imagination, an endless spectrum of connection where life refuses to be confined by categories. When mushrooms mature, they release spores in clouds so vast that they seem like smoke. Puffballs, for example, can unleash trillions of spores, more than all the people who have ever lived. A gentle raindrop or the brush of an animal's foot can trigger this release, filling the air with a storm of microscopic lives. Though most will fall on barren ground or perish, a few will land in the perfect place to grow, continuing the ancient cycle of renewal. Watching a puffball erupt is like watching the forest breathe, a brief, magical moment where invisibility becomes visible, and life scatters into the wind. But spores do not stay confined to the forest. They rise on air currents, drifting higher and higher until they reach the upper layers of the atmosphere. Scientists have found fungal spores floating thousands of feet above cities, mingling with dust and pollen, sometimes even forming the nuclei of raindrops within clouds. Every breath we take carries traces of distant forests and gardens, linking us to ecosystems we may never see. Even in a crowded city, surrounded by concrete, the invisible threads of fungi connect us to the living world beyond. The air itself becomes a bridge between wilderness and civilization, reminding us that nature's presence is inescapable. Some researchers even believe that spores may influence global weather. High in the sky, they help form clouds, affecting how moisture condenses and falls back to Earth as rain or snow. The same microscopic particles released by mushrooms in forests may thus help shape climate patterns across continents. It's as though fungi participate in the planet's breathing, helping regulate the rhythms of water and sky. The fungal kingdom, though hidden, is woven into nearly every system that sustains life, from soil and roots to clouds and rainfall. To think of fungi is to glimpse the quiet power of connection, transformation, and endurance. They are nature's recyclers, decomposers, farmers, architects, and alchemists. They break down the old to nourish the new, turning death into life again and again. From glowing mushrooms lighting their own paths in the dark to mycelial networks stretching beneath our feet like living internet cables, fungi reveal that every part of the planet is intertwined. They farm algae to create lichens, dissolve rocks to make soil, endure radiation, and even offer humans sustainable tools for the future. From biodegradable packaging to mycelium-based leather and fire-resistant materials. They are the original engineers of resilience. Every time a leaf falls and decays, every time a forest recovers after fire, fungi are there, working silently in the shadows, stitching together the fabric of the earth. They are proof that even in the darkest, coldest, or most hostile places, life finds a way not just to survive, but to thrive. The story of fungi is the story of persistence, creativity, and quiet brilliance, a reminder that the smallest lives often hold the greatest wisdom. Something as vast as the weather can be influenced by the smallest of living things, fungal spores, tiny and abundant, rising unseen into the sky where they serve as seeds for water droplets. Around these microscopic particles, clouds begin to form, turning invisible life into visible weather. In this way, fungi may quietly determine when and where rain falls, participating in the great cycles that sustain Earth's climate. Forests may not only recycle nutrients underground through their vast mycelial webs, but also call rain from the sky above, sending spores aloft to coax moisture into clouds. Though scientists continue to study this mysterious link, it suggests something profound: that mushrooms influence far more than the soil. They may reach into the very patterns of the atmosphere itself. Imagine raindrops forming around spores released from a distant rainforest, falling days later across open fields and winding rivers. Fungi blur the line between ground and sky, reminding us that life does not stop at borders, but flows upward, outward, and everywhere. Their invisible touch stretches from the forest floor to the clouds above, uniting Earth's systems in a continuous dance of renewal. Some fungi take on even more direct roles in healing the land itself. In soils poisoned by human industry, certain mushrooms step forward as silent healers, capable of absorbing heavy metals like lead, mercury, and cadmium. Their underground networks act like natural sponges, drawing toxins from the earth and locking them away inside their fruiting bodies. This remarkable process, known as mycoremediation, offers hope for restoring contaminated landscapes without the need for digging, burning, or harsh chemicals. Though the mushrooms themselves become unsafe to eat, they have already completed their purpose, turning poisoned ground into fertile soil once more. Picture a ruined landscape, scarred by pollution and neglect, where mushrooms begin to sprout defiantly from the earth. Slowly, quietly, they work as living filters, transforming danger into something contained. They are nature's alchemists, transmuting toxicity into balance. In their quiet labor, fungi reveal a blueprint for resilience, proof that healing can begin not with machines or force, but with patience, persistence, and the silent threads beneath our feet. Their talents extend even further. Fungi can clean up oil spills. When oil seeps into soil or spreads across water, its damage can persist for decades, suffocating the life it touches. Yet certain mushrooms possess the extraordinary ability to break down hydrocarbons, the very building blocks of oil, turning black sludge into harmless substances. Through their mycelium, fungi secrete powerful enzymes that dismantle complex molecules, transforming oily wastelands into living soil once again. In experiments, areas treated with fungi have turned from toxic ground into blooming meadows within weeks. Birds and insects return, plants take root, and the land begins to breathe again. This technique, another form of mycoremediation, suggests that mushrooms could help heal some of humanity's greatest environmental disasters. Picture an oil-soaked shoreline slowly turning green, not through human machinery alone, but through the work of countless fungal threads spreading unseen beneath the surface. Nature, it seems, has long held the antidote within the very organisms we so often overlook. But not all fungal marvels are found in healing alone. Some are hidden in sensory wonders. While most mushrooms carry earthy, savory notes, a few rare species surprise with sweetness. Some fungi release aromas and tastes reminiscent of chocolate, their unique chemical compounds mirroring those that give cacao its warmth and comfort. Imagine walking through a forest expecting the scent of damp earth, only to catch a whiff of something rich and sweet, like a hidden bakery in the heart of the woods. For chefs and explorers of taste, these chocolate-scented fungi open doors to strange new creations, desserts flavored not by cacao beans but by the forest itself. It is another way mushrooms confound expectation, blurring boundaries between flavor and imagination. Just as they can taste like sweetness, others can shine like stars. In tropical forests, bioluminescent fungi cast an otherworldly glow across the undergrowth, their soft green light bright enough to illuminate nearby leaves. The glow arises from a chemical reaction between luciferin and luciferase, much like the process that lets fireflies shimmer at dusk. Scientists believe this light helps attract nocturnal insects that carry spores to new places. To stumble upon them in the darkness is to witness living lanterns, a quiet magic that has inspired folklore for centuries. Travelers once spoke of fairy fire or fox fire, mysterious glows that seem to come from within the earth itself. Now we know these legends were born from mushrooms revealing their hidden radiance. Their glow reminds us that even in the deepest darkness, life finds ways to shine, sending green sparks into the night to ensure its story continues. Long before our forests looked as they do now, fungi once ruled the land. Hundreds of millions of years ago, before the rise of towering trees, enormous fungi known as prototaxites dominated the planet. These colossal organisms stood up to 30 feet tall, the tallest life forms of their age. They rose like pillars across barren landscapes, in a time when insects had only just learned to fly. Fossils reveal that these giants resembled great trunks, though they were neither tree nor plant, but fungi, early architects of Earth's ecosystems. Imagine a primeval plain dotted with these towering fungal spires, their presence shaping the soil and preparing the world for the forests yet to come. By breaking down rock and recycling nutrients, they built the foundation for future life. Today, mushrooms are small and fleeting, but their ancestors were the guardians of a forgotten age, when fungi, not trees, were the giants of Earth. Yet even the smallest fungi hold powers that defy belief. Some can survive total desiccation, enduring conditions that would destroy almost any other organism. In deserts and barren outcrops, certain fungi and lichens dry completely, appearing lifeless for months or even years. Yet with the return of moisture, they awaken as though nothing had happened. This resilience comes from special sugars and proteins that protect their cells during drought, allowing them to colonize the harshest environments, places where life seems impossible. Scientists study these incredible organisms for clues about how life might endure on Mars or other arid planets. Imagine a thread of fungus, dry and brittle for decades, suddenly springing back to life with a single drop of rain. In their quiet endurance, fungi teach us that survival is not always about strength or speed, but patience, the art of waiting for the right moment to begin again. This patience and resilience have even carried fungi into space. Their mysterious adaptability has made them subjects of scientific study aboard spacecraft, where they have been exposed to microgravity and cosmic radiation. To the astonishment of researchers, many fungal spores not only survived but continued to grow, even adapting their chemistry to withstand the extreme environment. Some experiments suggest that fungi could one day serve astronauts on long missions, recycling waste, producing food, or even shielding habitats from harmful radiation. There is even speculation, still debated but fascinating, that hardy spores might survive interplanetary travel, drifting through space to seed new worlds. Whether or not this cosmic journey is possible, fungi thriving in orbit remind us how adaptable life can be. The idea that a mushroom could grow in the vacuum of space stretches the limits of imagination and redefines what it means for something to be alive. From the depths of soil to the edge of the atmosphere, from healing the earth to glowing in the dark, fungi embody life's endless creativity. They are recyclers, architects, chemists, and survivors, organisms that turn decay into growth and destruction into rebirth. They blur the boundaries between earth and sky, past and future, life and death. Wherever they go, they remind us that the smallest threads can hold the greatest power, that renewal often begins quietly, in the hidden places of the world, where patient life waits to begin again. Earth's hidden fungal kingdom holds mysteries so profound that their influence may extend from the soil beneath our feet to the cosmic realms beyond. Among these mysteries are fungi that help crops resist disease, forming ancient partnerships that sustain life and nourish civilizations. Beneath fields of wheat, rice, and corn, invisible fungal allies called mycorrhizal fungi entwine themselves around the roots of plants, creating vast underground networks that exchange nutrients, strengthen immunity, and defend against pathogens. These fungi stimulate the plant's immune system, allowing it to fend off pests and disease with greater efficiency. Some even outcompete harmful microbes directly, forming a protective barrier that keeps roots safe from invasion. Modern farmers are learning to embrace these ancient relationships by using fungal inoculants in place of chemical pesticides, cultivating resilience through collaboration rather than domination. Imagine future farms not relying on toxic sprays, but strengthened by silent underground weavers, fungal threads connecting root to root, sharing strength through an unseen web. Such partnerships remind us that agriculture, like all life, is not a battle against nature but a dialogue with it. Just as forests thrive through the cooperative exchange of fungal and plant life, the farms of tomorrow may find their greatest abundance in nurturing this same alliance, one that has quietly sustained ecosystems for millions of years. Beyond their agricultural genius, fungi are biochemical treasure troves, providing humankind with some of its most life-saving drugs. From the discovery of penicillin to modern cancer therapies, mushrooms and their microscopic relatives have rewritten the story of medicine. Fungal compounds are used to lower cholesterol, treat infections, suppress immune rejection during organ transplants, and combat tumors. Levastatin, a drug that transformed heart medicine, was first discovered in a fungus, while cyclosporin, a critical medication that prevents transplant rejection, was isolated from a soil fungus. These discoveries remind us that the Earth's forests, meadows, and even decaying logs are living pharmacies, places where potential cures lie waiting, wrapped in gills and threads, hidden under moss and bark. The first antibiotic, penicillin, emerged from such humble beginnings in 1928, when Alexander Fleming noticed a mold, Penicillium notatum, killing bacteria in his lab. From that accidental observation came the antibiotic revolution, saving millions of lives during World War II and beyond. Though Penicillium is not a mushroom, it belongs to the same vast kingdom, revealing how deeply fungi have shaped our survival. The mold in that forgotten petri dish carried within it a power that transformed medicine forever, turning once fatal infections into treatable conditions and reminding humanity that sometimes the most extraordinary miracles come from the smallest forms of life. The fungal kingdom also nourishes us in more familiar ways, through bread, wine, and the countless delights of fermentation. Every loaf that rises in an oven and every glass of wine that sparkles in the evening carries the unseen handiwork of yeasts, the single-celled cousins of mushrooms. These tiny organisms feed on sugars and exhale carbon dioxide and alcohol. In dough, their bubbles become trapped in gluten's elastic embrace, swelling the loaf into something light and tender. In wine, their breath becomes effervescence, the whisper of transformation that turns grapes into something immortal. A sourdough starter is a living ecosystem of its own, a community of yeasts and bacteria that adapt to temperature, flour, and time. Bakers learn to read its moods, the soft hiss, the gentle rise, the scent of fermentation that signals life in motion. Winemakers speak of terroir not just in terms of soil and sunlight, but of the unique microbes that lend their region its signature flavor. Fermentation is not merely chemistry, it is choreography. Fungi move sugars into nourishment, turning decay into delight, weaving invisible threads of transformation into the heart of human culture. The artistry of fungi extends far beyond taste and medicine. For centuries, mushrooms have inspired entire genres of art, their forms appearing in folk embroidery, illuminated manuscripts, and modern design. Their domed caps, frilled gills, and slender stems possess a natural symmetry that artists and architects have long tried to capture. Art Nouveau borrowed its fluid curves, botanical illustrators chased its subtle colors, ceramicists glazed their caps to mirror the sheen of rain. Photographers crouched low in damp forests to catch the glow of bioluminescent mushrooms, turning nightwoods into constellations. Even children's books are filled with mushroom imagery, the toadstool as a doorway to fairy tales and wonder. The allure of fungi is not only visual but symbolic. Mushrooms are metaphors for emergence, for life that waits hidden until the time is right to bloom. They are reminders of nature's patience, beauty born from decay. Artists return to them again and again because they bridge the gap between the known and the mysterious, inviting us to look closer at the quiet marvels of the natural world. Yet some mushrooms carry mysteries so strange they blur the boundary between science and imagination. Researchers have recorded faint ultrasonic clicks as mushrooms grow, subtle pulses caused by changes in pressure and fluid flow within their tissues. These sounds, though beyond human hearing, suggest that fungi possess rhythms, tiny beats that accompany their expansion and communication. Scientists have also detected electrical pulses running through mycelial networks beneath the ground, rhythmic signals that rise and fall, sometimes forming patterns that resemble syllables or sentences. Artists have translated these signals into ambient music, revealing a kind of symphony beneath the soil, notes that rise and fall with humidity, light, and touch. Whether this is a form of communication or simply biological rhythm, it reminds us that even the quietest organisms possess their own music, their own intricate tempo. To imagine the forest not as silent but alive with microbial song is to reawaken our sense of wonder at the complexity of life all around us. Fungi's resilience extends to places we might never expect. In the driest deserts and the coldest corners of Antarctica, endolithic fungi live inside rocks. These organisms tuck themselves within mineral pores, protected from radiation and desiccation, surviving where temperatures swing from freezing to scorching. Within the translucent surfaces of quartz, they capture faint sunlight, enough to power their slow metabolism. Their chemistry is pragmatic and ancient, acids that digest minerals, pigments that shield from radiation, and proteins that allow them to wait through centuries of stillness until a film of moisture returns. Life, it seems, is not fragile but ingenious, finding ways to persist in conditions that seem utterly barren. Split open a stone in these wastelands and you may find not emptiness, but filaments of life etched into the rock itself, a microscopic city thriving in the cracks of the impossible. These rock-dwelling fungi remind us that the frontier of life does not begin in lush jungles or blue oceans but in the hidden, silent corners of existence where persistence is its own kind of intelligence. Yet the fungal world is not only gentle, it can also be eerie, even terrifying, in its precision. Among its most famous stories is that of the zombie ant fungus. When an ant wanders through the forest and encounters a fungal spore, it unknowingly becomes host to a microscopic invader that knows its body intimately. The fungus threads through the ant's muscles but spares its brain, allowing it to remain functional just long enough to serve the fungus's needs. Compelled by biochemical signals, the infected ant climbs to a precise height, bites into a leaf vein, and locks its jaws in a death grip. Then, the fungus consumes its host from within, sprouting a slender stalk from the ant's head that releases spores to the forest below. This haunting ritual is not random, it is evolutionary choreography, perfected over millions of years. Nature, as ever, does not moralize, it strategizes. For the fungus, survival means mastery of the microscopic stage, where every gesture of its host becomes part of a larger biological dance. Even more gothic in their beauty are the cordyceps fungi, a family of parasitic species that specialize in infecting insects. Each cordyceps fungus is finely tuned to its particular host, a caterpillar, beetle, spider, or ant, and transforms its body into a pedestal for the fungus's growth. What emerges is both morbid and magnificent, delicate orange stalks sprouting from a still form, a reminder that life and death are not opposites but continuations of the same process. Beneath the surface, cordyceps secrete enzymes that dissolve tissue, reclaiming nutrients and returning them to the ecosystem. To human eyes, their forms are haunting, yet they play a vital role in nature's cycle of renewal. In recent years, cordyceps have even found their way into medicine and wellness, studied for compounds that may enhance endurance and immunity. Across every habitat, forest, desert, rock, or root, fungi weave themselves into the story of life with a grace that borders on cosmic. They heal, nourish, communicate, and transform. They rise from decay, breathe through soil, and reach into the air to seed rain and renewal. They remind us that life's intelligence is not confined to animals or plants but is shared by all things that grow, connect, and adapt. Perhaps this is why some scientists speculate that fungi might even survive beyond Earth, that their spores, strong enough to endure radiation and vacuum, could travel through space, carrying the potential for life to new worlds. Whether in the silence of the soil or the emptiness between stars, the fungal kingdom whispers the same truth. Resilience is not the conquest of nature but harmony with it. To understand fungi is to glimpse the deep, interconnected intelligence of life itself, a web that stretches from the smallest root to the farthest reach of the cosmos, binding all things in a patient, living thread. Mushrooms can form vast underground networks that connect entire ecosystems, shaping the flow of life itself. Hidden beneath our feet, mycelial webs stretch for kilometers, fine threads threading soil and root, linking trees, shrubs, and grasses into living communication systems. These fungal networks pass nutrients, water, and even chemical messages between plants. A sapling shaded from light may receive sugars from an older tree through these filaments. A sick tree may warn its neighbors of pest attack, prompting them to strengthen their own defenses. Scientists call it the Wood Wide Web, an unseen internet of life where cooperation transcends species. Through this subterranean exchange, forests behave less like a collection of individuals and more like a single breathing organism, responsive, adaptive, and resilient. The mycelium itself is both infrastructure and intelligence, a neural-like lattice pulsing with purpose, sensing changes in moisture, pressure, and chemistry. It is the Earth's circulatory system and perhaps its mind. In recent years, researchers have begun to explore how this living network might even influence climate by stabilizing soil carbon and affecting how forests absorb carbon dioxide. If we could see beneath the ground, the landscape would glow with a ghostly radiance, veins of life weaving a tapestry of cooperation so intricate that it humbles our idea of connection. Yet the story of fungi does not end with ecological marvels. It extends deep into our culture, our food, our medicines, and our imaginations. They are ancient alchemists transforming decay into renewal, recyclers turning death into the raw material of life. When rain returns to a forest, mushrooms erupt overnight from what seemed barren soil, their forms unfolding with silent determination. These fruiting bodies are only a glimpse of a far greater organism hidden below. Like icebergs, they show us only a fraction of their true being. In their shapes, umbrellas, cups, fans, coral, stars, we see both the logic of function and the poetry of chance. Every species is a design perfected by patience. Some mimic fallen leaves to avoid being eaten, others glow faintly at night, drawing insects to spread their spores. Bioluminescent mushrooms flicker along fallen logs, like lanterns marking the path of decomposition. This light, created by enzymes reacting with oxygen, is both lure and language, a way for fungi to signal, perhaps even to coordinate. It is life communicating in a dialect of luminescence. In every ecosystem, fungi are the invisible workers. They digest the indigestible, breaking down lignin and cellulose, the woody armor that locks away the sun's energy. Without them, forests would choke on their own remains, and nutrients would lie forever trapped in dead matter. Instead, fungi liberate carbon and nitrogen, returning them to circulation. They are the planet's recyclers and architects, building soil layer by layer, century by century. Even in the harshest environments, Antarctica's cold deserts, volcanic slopes, or radioactive ruins, fungi endure. Their spores can survive space-like conditions, hinting that if life exists beyond Earth, it might look fungal. Some scientists speculate that ancient fungal forms could have traveled between worlds on meteorites, carrying the chemistry of life through the cosmos. Whether or not this is true, it captures a truth of spirit. Fungi are the great connectors, bridging death and life, earth and sky, past and future. Humans have always lived in quiet partnership with fungi. Long before we understood them, we used them to leaven bread, ferment wine, and brew beer. Yeasts, those microscopic cousins of mushrooms, were our first collaborators in chemistry. Their hunger for sugar and their exhalations of carbon dioxide and alcohol gave rise to two of civilization's most enduring comforts: nourishment and celebration. The same invisible process that lifts a loaf in the oven also fuels the sparkle in a glass of champagne. These humble organisms, thriving in dough and grape juice, have shaped economies, rituals, and cuisines across millennia. And still, their potential expands. Fungal enzymes help make cheese, chocolate, and soy sauce. Their threads form new materials, biodegradable leather, packaging, even building bricks stronger than concrete yet grown without harm. Designers now dream of cities partially made from mycelium, structures that breathe, repair, and return to the earth when their time ends. In the laboratory, scientists explore fungal biomaterials as a way to replace plastics, offering a path towards sustainability that echoes nature's own cycle of creation and decay. Beyond food and industry, fungi are profound healers. From the first accidental discovery of penicillin, a mold-halting bacterial growth in Alexander Fleming's dish, to modern cancer drugs and cholesterol treatments, the fungal kingdom has yielded chemical miracles. Compounds from mushrooms and molds have saved countless lives, revealing nature's deep pharmacy. Cyclosporin made organ transplants possible, levastatin reshaped heart medicine, and new species still hold undiscovered compounds that may fight diseases yet unnamed. To walk through a forest is, in a sense, to wander through a living apothecary. Each cap and filament might contain a cure waiting to be found. The realization humbles modern science, that the secrets to longevity and healing often lie beneath fallen leaves, in the slow labor of decomposition. But fungi are not only healers, they are also sculptors of strangeness, blending beauty with eeriness. Consider the cordyceps, parasites that turn insects into hosts for their life cycle. They invade, commandeer, and transform, choreographing the behavior of their victims with molecular precision. To us, it appears as horror, but in nature, it is balance, a recycling of energy through macabre elegance. Dead man's fingers rise from buried wood, coral fungi shimmer like underwater reefs, and birds' nest fungi cradle tiny pearl-like spore packets that splash outward with each raindrop. Each form is an experiment in design, optimized through time yet filled with aesthetic grace. Their names, witch's butter, bleeding tooth, fairy ink cap, capture both fear and fascination. For artists, mushrooms have long been muses, symbols of transformation and mystery. From ancient embroidery to surrealist paintings, they evoke thresholds between worlds, life and death, real and imagined. Fungi even communicate in ways we are just beginning to grasp. Within their mycelium, electrical impulses pulse in rhythmic bursts, not unlike neuronal signals. Some researchers interpret these pulses as potential words, in a fungal vocabulary, patterns that might coordinate growth or resource sharing. Others remain cautious, calling them metabolic echoes. Either way, the discovery invites wonder. Perhaps beneath every forest hums a quiet electrical symphony, a language of touch and pulse older than speech. There are even fungi that sing, producing ultrasonic clicks as they grow, minute shifts in pressure, and fluid that can be recorded with sensitive microphones. Whether music or mere byproduct, these sounds remind us that life resonates at every scale, and that what we call silence is only our own limitation of hearing. The diversity of fungi is staggering. Scientists estimate millions of species, most still unnamed. Some are microscopic, others enormous, like the honey fungus of Oregon, a single organism spreading across nearly 10 square kilometers, perhaps thousands of years old, making it one of the largest living beings on Earth. This vast network thrives mostly underground, unseen, a quiet titan recycling an ancient forest from within. Its persistence challenges our sense of individuality, blurring where one life ends and another begins. Are the mushrooms that appear each autumn separate organisms or expressions of one vast body? In fungal terms, individuality is fluid, collective, a mosaic of connection rather than separation. And fungi reach not only through ecosystems but through time. Fossil records reveal that they are among the earliest multicellular life forms, predating plants and animals. Nearly 1 billion years ago, fungal filaments carved through rock, releasing minerals that would one day nourish the first roots. Without them, the greening of Earth might never have happened. When dinosaurs roamed, fungi decomposed fallen trees and perhaps fed the giants themselves. After the asteroid strike that ended their reign, fungi flourished again, thriving on the abundance of decaying biomass. In every extinction, they endure. Their spores drift through cataclysms and return when the dust settles, rebuilding soil for new beginnings. To speak of fungi is to speak of resilience measured in eons. Even today, their resilience continues to astonish. Fungi live in deserts, thriving inside rocks and salt crystals where moisture is a rumor. They inhabit radioactive ruins like Chernobyl, feeding on radiation itself through a process called radiosynthesis. Some species glow brighter under gamma rays, as if turning danger into light. Others rest dormant for decades until a hint of water calls them awake. They teach us that survival is not only endurance but transformation, the ability to rewrite one's own limits. In every sense, fungi are the ultimate collaborators. They partner with plants, animals, bacteria, and even us, reshaping the world through cooperation and adaptation. They dissolve barriers between death and life, self and other, destruction and creation. When we study them, we glimpse a different logic of existence, one that values connection over conquest, patience over haste. To look at a mushroom is to see the surface of a mystery that runs deeper than imagination, a reminder that the most powerful forces on Earth often work unseen, quietly weaving the web that makes life possible. From the cosmic scale to the soil beneath the seedling, fungi hold lessons in humility and wonder. They whisper that everything is linked, that life thrives not through competition but through the exchange of gifts. And perhaps that is their greatest truth, that the earth itself is a collaboration, an ancient pact in threads and spores, still unfolding beneath our feet, soft and silent as mycelium growing through the dark. Cha. Perfect geometric patterns appear across nature, and mushrooms are among the quiet architects of such beauty. When mushrooms fruit, they sometimes arrange themselves in startlingly precise patterns, arcs, spirals, even perfect circles, like nature sketching with mathematical intent. These forms emerge naturally from how the mycelium expands underground, pushing outward as it depletes nutrients in the center. At the advancing edge, mushrooms sprout, tracing invisible geometry beneath the soil that suddenly becomes visible above it. From a bird's-eye view, these shapes appear almost deliberate, as though the earth itself were guided by a geometric hand. Spirals mirror the same mathematical ratios found in shells and sunflowers, where nature's logic of efficiency governs form. To stumble upon such a pattern in a meadow is to glimpse the quiet order hidden in the chaos of life, geometry rising from decay, design born of growth, and the silent handwriting of time etched into the living ground. Beauty here is not decoration, it is process itself. The outward push of a network, the flow of nutrients, and the patient unfolding of time combine to create art without intention. Mushrooms, in their silent symmetry, remind us that the world is built on invisible mathematics, numbers and rhythms woven into the soil. Yet mushrooms are not only geometers but also clever strategists in survival. While many fungi rely on wind to disperse their spores, others take a more calculated approach. Some spores are sticky, spiky, or wrapped in delicate hooks designed to cling to the wings, legs, or fur of passing insects. These travelers become living couriers, unknowingly carrying fungal life to new territories far beyond what wind alone could reach. Certain species even sweeten the deal, producing sugary droplets or faint glows to lure their tiny transporters closer. Some fungi grow on flowers or leaves, perfectly placed where pollinators must brush past. It is an invisible partnership, a silent exchange between two kingdoms, movement traded for survival. Each insect that flits through the forests becomes a ferry for spores, spreading them like passengers bound for unknown lands. The forest hums with these unspoken pacts, where motion itself is currency and fungi master the art of the invisible ride. Beneath all of this lies the true foundation of life, the soil, and fungi are its architects and guardians. As the planet's recyclers, they break down leaves, wood, and organic debris into the simple compounds that nourish everything else. But fungi do not merely release nutrients, they hold them in place, binding the soil together with their vast mycelial threads. These filaments create a living sponge beneath our feet, storing nitrogen, phosphorus, and carbon in forms that plants can draw upon. Without this hidden network, fertile soils would wash away, leaving behind lifeless ground. Even in farms and fields, fungi quietly perform their work, locking nutrients where roots can reach them. Imagine this underground lattice as a caretaker, tucking life's building blocks into safe places until the moment of need. Through this patient stewardship, fungi ensure that forests and crops alike endure. They are the invisible custodians of fertility, weaving stability beneath every step we take. Yet their influence runs deeper still. Fungi have built entire underground highways for other life forms. Along their thread-like filaments, bacteria travel as if on miniature roads, using the sturdy fungal structure to cross gaps in the soil they could never traverse alone. These bacterial hitchhikers, in turn, often repay the favor by sharing nutrients or aiding in chemical exchanges. Together, they create a bustling, microscopic city beneath the earth, a web of highways, intersections, and markets where energy and matter are constantly traded. To think of soil as inert dirt is to miss this symphony of motion. It is alive, humming with traffic, and fungi are its civil engineers, laying down the routes that sustain the microbial world. Even the scents that drift through a forest carry the mark of fungi. Lift the cap of a fresh mushroom and you may catch a fragrance of warm, yeasty bread, the same aroma that fills a bakery. This familiar smell arises from volatile compounds that fungi share with yeast, the organisms that make our bread rise. It is chemistry that connects wilderness to home. To inhale that scent among trees is to feel the boundary between nature and civilization dissolve for a moment. And this fragrance, though pleasant to us, serves a purpose for the fungi. It attracts insects and animals that brush against the spores, spreading them onward. What we perceive as comfort is, for them, survival. Other species enchant the air differently. Some smell of anise, others of cinnamon. A walk through damp woods can suddenly evoke a spice market, the air perfumed with sweetness. These aromas come from the same molecular families found in kitchen spices, crafted not for our pleasure but to attract allies or repel threats. Mycologists, those who study fungi, often identify species by bending close and breathing in these subtle perfumes, the secret language of the forest carried on the wind. Each aroma is a note in a silent symphony, proof that chemistry and beauty often share the same roots. Mushrooms are also masters of water, capable of absorbing and holding vast amounts of it like living sponges. After a rainfall, They can double in size overnight, their tissues swelling with moisture. This ability not only fuels their sudden emergence but also benefits the life around them. The stored water slowly seeps back into the soil, creating tiny pockets of humidity that sustain mosses, seedlings, and insects. In this way, each mushroom becomes a reservoir, capturing rain and releasing it in rhythm with the forest's needs. Even after they fade, the decaying bodies of mushrooms continue to regulate moisture, ensuring that life below continues to thrive. They are, in essence, vessels of memory, carrying the imprint of storms and returning it gently to the earth. But in the night, fungi reveal a different kind of magic. Some species glow softly, emitting a greenish light that can last for days or even weeks without dimming. Unlike fireflies that flash briefly, bioluminescent fungi burn with steady patience, their glow born from the chemical dance of luciferin and luciferase. Scientists believe this light lures nocturnal insects that help carry spores farther afield. In the depths of a tropical forest, these mushrooms shine like embers scattered across the ground, creating the illusion of stars fallen to earth. Ancient travelers called them foxfire or fairy fire, crafting myths around their mysterious beauty. Though modern science has uncovered the chemistry behind the glow, the wonder remains untouched, a reminder that light and life are never entirely separate. Beyond their role in ecology, mushrooms have long been woven into the human spirit. Across ancient cultures, they were seen as sacred mediators between worlds. In Mesoamerica, the Aztecs called them Tiyananacatl, the flesh of the gods, believed to open gateways to divine understanding. In the frozen forests of Siberia, shamans consumed the bright red Amanita muscaria, seeking visions that bridge the physical and the spiritual. Indigenous peoples across continents have used mushrooms in ceremonies of healing, initiation, and communion with the unseen. They recognized what modern science is only beginning to rediscover, that fungi occupy liminal spaces between life and decay, darkness and light, body and spirit. Today, mushrooms are studied not just for mysticism but for medicine, their compounds offering relief from depression, anxiety, and existential fear. Across time and culture, they have remained guides, symbols of transformation and renewal, showing that even in decay lies rebirth. Their mysteries deepen when we learn that some mushrooms can actively launch their spores into the air. While most rely on wind or raindrops for dispersal, certain species generate bursts of pressure so precise that they shoot spores upward with measurable force. Tiny biological cannons flinging life into the unseen currents above. This power, executed millions of times across a forest floor, ensures that new generations find their way into the future. From glowing lights to geometric rings, from the scent of bread to the architecture of soil, mushrooms reveal a truth both humbling and profound. Life's greatest designs often work in silence. Beneath the surface, unseen by most eyes, a vast intelligence hums, a web of patience and precision, resilience and renewal. Fungi are not mere decomposers but the quiet mathematicians, chemists, engineers, and philosophers of the living world. They remind us that every step we take is supported by invisible threads, that decay is never the end, and that in the stillness beneath the soil, life is always beginning again. Fungi use extraordinary mechanics to spread life through the air in ways both invisible and astonishing. In inky caps and puffballs, pressure builds until spores burst forth in smoky clouds, vanishing like whispers on the breeze. Other species, such as Pilobolus, go further still, using explosive precision to launch spores several meters away, an incredible feat of microengineering. Inside each spore capsule, pressure accumulates until, in an instant, it releases, sending the tiny payload hurtling through the air like a microscopic cannonball. To the human eye, the act is unseen, but under a microscope, it looks like fireworks unfolding in miniature, a constant invisible celebration of life's persistence. This launch ensures that spores escape the shadow of their parents, landing on new ground with the chance to thrive. When viewed from the perspective of the fungal world, the forest is anything but still. It is alive with motion, filled with invisible projectiles, clouds, and leaps that carry the next generation forward. What appears tranquil to us is a storm of movement beneath perception, spores rising endlessly into unseen currents of air. In fact, the fastest living movement known on Earth belongs not to a cheetah or mantis shrimp but to a fungus. The tiny Pilobolus, which grows on dung, can fire its spores at speeds exceeding 20 meters per second, with acceleration greater than a bullet leaving a gun. The spores, encased in pressurized capsules, wait until tension peaks and then rupture in an instant, catapulting their contents incredible distances, sometimes over 2 meters, 100 times the fungus's own height. This precision ensures spores land on fresh grass, where they are eaten by grazing animals, carried onward, and deposited elsewhere to begin anew. It's humbling to realize that the fastest action in biology is not the strike of a predator but the leap of a mushroom's spore, a reminder that power often hides in the quiet and overlooked. Some mushrooms, meanwhile, take on shapes so beautiful and alien that they seem sculpted by the ocean itself. Coral fungi, for instance, rise from the forest floor in branching forms that mimic reefs beneath the sea. Their bodies glow in whites, yellows, and deep oranges, twisting like coral frozen mid-wave. These shapes are not coincidence but efficiency. Branching allows more surface area to release spores into the air, turning function into art. To find them is to feel as though the sea has spilled into the woods, its intricate language of repetition and pattern translated into forest form. Fungi that resemble coral, antlers, or flames show how life reuses the same elegant solutions across worlds. The forest and the ocean share an ancient design grammar, branching into beauty, balancing chaos with symmetry. To witness this is to recognize that nature writes in patterns, repeating its most successful lines again and again across time and space. Elsewhere, after rain, clusters of delicate mushrooms emerge, their caps spreading like tiny parasols. They glow softly when sunlight filters through, thin as paper, translucent as mist. These fragile fungi live for just a day or two before collapsing, their fleeting beauty as ephemeral as dawn itself. Yet in their brief existence, they embody both practicality and poetry. The umbrella shape protects the delicate gills beneath, while the slender stalk lifts spores into the air, catching gentle currents to carry them away. Evolution has perfected this design, simple, efficient, and so iconic that children instinctively draw it when they imagine a mushroom. It appears in fairy tales, myths, and stories as a symbol of mystery and magic. Biologists study it as a masterpiece of natural engineering, while artists and storytellers see it as a symbol of wonder. Ephemeral, yes, but unforgettable, the mushroom's form is a universal emblem of life's quiet elegance, rising anew with every rainfall. Beyond their beauty, fungi may hold answers to one of humanity's greatest challenges: carbon capture. The Earth's carbon balance depends not only on trees but on the fungal networks entwined with their roots. Mycorrhizal fungi, in particular, form partnerships with plants, channeling sugars from roots deep into the soil, where carbon can be stored for centuries. These underground systems prevent carbon dioxide from re-entering the atmosphere, helping stabilize the planet's climate. Some fungi even produce compounds that resist decay, locking carbon into the ground in long-lasting forms. Scientists now study how to encourage this process, potentially turning forests and fields into vast natural carbon sinks. Imagine a future where climate change is not fought by machines but by living systems, fungal networks quietly weaving carbon back into the earth. Beneath our feet, the world's oldest recyclers may already be solving the problems of tomorrow, one invisible thread at a time. The potential of fungi doesn't end on Earth. If humanity ever journeys to other planets, mushrooms may travel with us, not just as food, but as builders and caretakers. Their resilience makes them ideal pioneers for alien worlds. Certain fungi can survive radiation, extreme cold, and even the low gravity of space. They could help break down rock into usable soil, recycle waste in closed environments, and even serve as the foundation for living architecture. Mycelium, the thread-like body of fungi, can grow into lightweight, strong, biodegradable materials, forming shelters that are cultivated rather than constructed. Scientists have already imagined mycohabitats on Mars, biodomes grown instead of built, expanding naturally like the organisms that made them. The vision echoes Earth's own ancient story, when fungi were among the first to colonize land, preparing the soil for plants hundreds of millions of years ago. They were pioneers once, and they could be pioneers again, carrying life's resilience to other worlds. If humanity spreads beyond Earth, it will not go alone. Fungi will weave the first roots of new worlds, just as they did this one. Without fungi, however, life as we know it would collapse. Strip them from the planet and forests would choke on their own litter, unable to recycle nutrients. Soil would lose its fertility, rivers would clog with decay, and plants would wither from hunger. Most plants depend on fungal partners to absorb water and minerals. Without them, photosynthesis would falter, and the chain of life would unravel. Animals, including humans, rely indirectly on this partnership for every breath and every meal. Even the oxygen we breathe owes its balance to ecosystems stabilized by fungi. They are the recyclers, the engineers, and the silent custodians of life, unseen yet essential. Their absence would be catastrophic, for fungi maintain the delicate balance that keeps Earth alive. To understand this is to realize that mushrooms are not background characters in nature's play. They are the stage itself, the foundation upon which every other act unfolds. And so we come to the end of our quiet journey through the kingdom of fungi, a world of glowing lights, invisible winds, and ancient wisdom. From spores catapulted into air currents to networks older than forests, from coral-shaped wonders to space-faring potential, fungi reveal that life's true magic lies in its silence and persistence. They teach patience and transformation, showing how decay becomes renewal, how endings feed beginnings. They hold water for the thirsty, feed insects and giants alike, and whisper messages through underground threads that link trees into vast living communities. Without them, there would be no bread rising in ovens, no forests reaching for the sky, no balance in the eternal cycles of growth and return. So as you rest, imagine the pulse of mycelium beneath your feet, a slow, steady heartbeat of the soil, ancient and enduring. Picture spores drifting like stardust across the night, carrying possibilities unseen. Envision mushrooms glowing softly in the darkness, tiny lanterns of life reminding us that even in shadow, the world continues to breathe. This is the comfort of nature's science, its stillness, its resilience, its quiet, unstoppable creativity. The earth is stranger, richer, and more interconnected than we can ever fully see. By pausing to notice it, we awaken to the extraordinary hidden in the ordinary. The next time you walk through a forest or see a mushroom after rain, remember the vast world beneath your feet, a world of silent fireworks, ancient engineers, and threads of life connecting all things. Rest well, and know that even now, beneath the surface, life is growing, reaching, and waiting, just for you.